Alaska. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, Susan. Susan and I met at CEO Space, another conference that I absolutely loved. It's basically, I've heard someone describe it as Burning Man, but for business. It's wonderful. So we met there, really clicked, and she says, you have to come and speak. And so what I want to speak about are 7 tips for live streaming. We all hear about, video, well, I don't know if we all hear, I subscribe to a lot of social media, marketing strategy, blogs, and podcasters. So right now, video is the it thing. If you want to be able to capture people's attention, it's video ads. And so live streaming is a great way, especially with video, that I found has helped me go from corporate America to quitting my job and launching my own coaching career. And I think it's very helpful for everyone else as well, because it's free marketing, you don't have to pay, and you get direct access to your customers once you build out that customer base. So I'm going to be giving you tips for how can you build up that customer base or that following base, so that way you can start using that as your free marketing and advertising. So real quick, a little bit about me. I'm born in Romania, but raised in, do you guys want me to move out of the way? I feel like I'm right in the middle. I'm good? Awesome. Perfect. So I'm born in Romania, raised in Fullerton. So I had the shortest commute of anyone here. Well, almost the shortest commute of anyone here. I drove, he walked. She walked, sorry. And then worked in corporate America most of my life. I grew up here in Fullerton, went through the public education system. And when I was in college, I was like, what's the practical thing to do, right? And my parents' vision of the American dream was that you're gonna come to the United States, you're gonna go to college. They were unable to go to college because they grew up as Christians in a communist country. And so my mom didn't even get to go to high school. And so their version of the American dream was, you're gonna come go to college, get a good job, and you're set for life. And so when it was my turn to go to college, I graduated top of my class, valedictorian, and so I was like, okay, what's the most practical thing that I can do to be guaranteed a good job? And so I chose business. So I double majored in finance and economics, and I got a job. Worked in corporate America. I worked for Raytheon. It's in the defense industry, 30,000 plus employees. Worked right down the road in Fullerton. So got the job, and for the past 10 years, I've worked in all areas of finance. Anything from pricing, planning, budgeting, reporting to Wall Street, metrics, all that stuff. And about 4 years ago, I really started realizing that I don't like finance. I really don't like finance. I loved working with the people, and I loved on projects where you could go present or train people, but I hated the actual working in finance. So I started exploring, thinking, okay, what if I don't like finance? What am I supposed to do? And so then I started getting involved into real estate. And my brother approached me, and I know this sounds like the beginning of a bad joke, where my brother came and said, I think we should invest in real estate together. But it turned out really well. We went ahead and we started discovering real estate. We actually completed a very profitable deal in Houston, and then we both realized we don't really like real estate. And so instead, but the good thing about real estate was it introduced me to Periscope. And there was a lot of last year, this brand new app came out called Periscope, where people could live stream. And a lot of real estate investors were on Periscope, and they were doing free training on Periscope. And at that time, the videos lasted only 24 hours, so you had to watch them within 24 hours. So I got onto Periscope, and from there, I used everything that I learned on Periscope and the following base, I created that to then launch my coaching career. So real quick, I'm gonna show you guys, before I show the stats, I'm going to show you guys, before I go into the details of what you should be doing to create a following base, I want to show you the stats of one of my first broadcasts and also a clip of it, so you guys realize everyone has to start from somewhere. And the quality might not be the best. Put aside any perfectionist tendencies that you might have and just go out there and just do it. So on one of my first broadcasts, I think it was my 5th official broadcast, I had 106 live viewers, which is a lot. I had 106 people live, 104 were comments, so they were pretty engaged. I had over 6,000 hearts, and hearts is when you were commenting, they could tap the screen if they approved. So I had a very engaged audience base. Each one gave me about 600 hearts apiece. Through Periscope. This was through Periscope. I had 16 shares, and at that time I had less than 100 followers. And this is how that broadcast started. If you could dim the lights for this one. Yeah.
go ahead and fix my face.
Cool.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining everyone. I'm continuing the review of Think and Grow Rich. Hi, thanks for joining Tim, thanks for inviting followers. Okay, whew, it's staying in place.
And I just wanted to show, I mean, did you guys notice? I was upside down in a parking lot, and I had a tripod that kept slipping. Like, that's how I started, you guys. And so that's why I want to encourage you guys. It doesn't have to be this big old professional production. You start small. You start really, really small. And so yeah. I'm gonna. We can go ahead and put the lights back up.
Were you drinking?
And I was not drinking. That was on my lunch break. At that time, I didn't want anyone at work to know what I was doing. And so I couldn't broadcast at work, so I had to find some random spot in which I'd have connection and be able to hold a book and like not have to hold shaky, not do very well with live streaming the hardware. But yeah, so now knowing that, when I give you the tips, keep that in mind so you don't get overwhelmed about, I need everything to be perfect. So first absolutely critical tip, and this is what helped me with less than 100 followers, have over 100 live viewers, is plug into a network first. Don't start, I mean, if you want to start live streaming now, go ahead and start live streaming. But if you want to be able to accelerate your growth in the audience that you create, first plug into a network, or look at the networks that you're currently in, and get connected and become known in those networks. What I ended up doing when I first was on Periscope for the first 2 months, I just watched other people's broadcasts. I supported their broadcasts. I frequently commented on their broadcasts. And then we had 2 networks that I noticed that were there that were frequently mentioned. And so then I joined, they had offline chat apps. So I joined their chat apps to chat and to get to know them as people. So to build that relationship so that way they can get to know, like, and trust me. And then from there, actually, we even created our own network where we create a network called Scopers Unite that helped people, first-time scopers, be able to scope. And Scopers Unite just had an event in Las Vegas about 3 weeks ago, just a big family reunion with people all over the world. So you first plug into a network, and you want to be able to leverage those networks. When I went live, find a need and fit. I'll say this right here. Find a need and fill it. So once you're in those networks, once you know what those networks want or need or what kind of services they are desiring, provide that service if it's in alignment with what you're doing as a business or as a person. So for me, one of the networks that I joined was called Limitless Mafia. They're all about personal development, about, you need to, Limitless, give you guys a shout out. Every now and then, do something interactive like that. But they're all about personal development, and there's people from all over the world. Most of them, didn't have much access to books or libraries or money. They were just making ends meet. And then there was quite a few people who had already, achieved some sort of level of success, and so they wanted to help people. So it's just a community of sharing. Well, the only requirement for joining that group was to read the book Think and Grow Rich. How many of you guys have heard of Think and Grow Rich? Awesome. If you haven't, read it. Really good. Napoleon Hill. And Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. That's another good one too. So that was the only requirement. And people were struggling with reading that book. And so I was like, I've read the book plenty of times. I'm a good teacher. If I'm gonna live stream, let me go ahead and live stream and just start breaking down that book for people. So that way, some people don't like reading. Some people don't have time for reading. But while they're driving, they have time to listen to someone talking about that book. So that's what I did. I let my network know. So I joined a network, created those relationships, found a need, and then I decided I am going to provide that need for them. I'm going to provide that value. If you want to truly leverage your networks, that most people, when they think, capitalism or networking, they think, I'm going to go there and what can I get? If you really want to take advantage of your networks, is go there and say, what can I give? There's another amazing book called The Go-Giver that talks about that, about giving value first, because money is an echo to values lightning. So, you provide value, and then money comes. And so that's what I did. I found a need, and it was in alignment with what my abilities were. So that's what I started doing. And I let them know, hey, you guys, I'm going to start streaming. This is what I'm going to do. Whoever wants to join, if you find it useful, join. My very first broadcast, think I had about 25 people, which is crazy because when I first started, I was like, what if no one shows up? Like that was going through, I'm like, I'm gonna go live and no one's gonna show up. And then people started showing up and I'm like, oh man, people are showing up. Now I really need to deliver. You know, so there's reasons to be scared regardless of what the outcome is. So just go ahead and just do it. That's what I'd say. And so I started providing that value for them and started going through it. And then by my 4th broadcast, my followers had shared it out with certain people and it got the attention of certain influencers who then came and shared it to their followers, and they had like thousands of followers. And so that then exposed me to more people. So, I mean, if you want to be exposed really, really fast and grow your audience, that's one of the things that you do. And then afterwards, be consistent. This is the biggest thing, and there's quite a few females in the group, so I'm really glad to mention that you guys are here, because one of the studies that I had read showed that females struggle with being consistent on social media much more so than men. Because men usually create a plan and they're like, well, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And as females, they'll do a lot of great content at one time, and then like a long pause, and then another long great, and yes, that is, like I've noticed it in myself, so I've been very careful about, I needed to be consistent. So when I first started broadcasting, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at lunch, everyone knew Monday, Wednesday, Friday around lunchtime. Consistent days and consistent times, so that way they could expect it. It's, you know, treat it as if you're broadcasting on TV. Basically, you're broadcasting on TV, but it's reality and it's unscripted most times, and so it's a lot more real. But if the more consistent you are with the days, the times, and the length of time that you broadcast, the more recognized you become. People recognize you. They're like, okay, you're someone who's dependable. And then, like I had mentioned right before we started, there was a study that showed that if the average American were to read one book a month on a certain topic, after 3 years, they'd be considered an expert on that topic. Well, imagine if you start broadcasting, and you're broadcasting frequently, 3 times a week. At one point, I eventually got to the point where I was doing every Monday through Saturday around noontime from January through about May this year. Wow. I was doing 6 times a week, and on very few occasions I didn't broadcast, and that's because I was on vacation or something. And so imagine how much more frequently in the public's eye you become the expert. So whether it's web design or graphic design, whatever it is, if you're constantly broadcasting, people will see you as the expert because you're creating content and putting out content. So that's very important, from attracting customers' perspective. And then, really important, test before you go live. So if you're gonna use this though, with one caveat, test before you go live, but don't use that as an excuse to never start. Most people will use that as an excuse to never start. So I mean, when I first started, you guys saw the clip. I had this like flimsy tripod that kept falling. It was so annoying, and then sometimes my connection would go out. And so I remember one time I actually had to stop the broadcast, move one parking stall over because the connection was stronger there, and then go broadcast again, right? But don't use that as an excuse to not start. Everyone understood. Periscope especially had a very relaxed vibe to it. It was, this is my world, this is what I'm experiencing, and so everyone was just in there for the ride. With Facebook as well though, with Facebook sometimes certain people will expect higher professional quality on Facebook, but if they can see you, if you've got a steady camera, you've got good lighting, just go ahead and start. How many of you guys are familiar with Marie Forleo? She's very big on business, and especially for women. She runs a thing called B School for online. She's actually been invited, she's been featured on Oprah Magazine, has been invited to Richard Branson's Island, etc. So really, really big. She started off her first videos on YouTube. Literally, it's her with the camera in her kitchen and really bad quality, moving around. Every now and then she slips out a cuss word and everything. So it's really like, you look at it and you think, this is something like I would have done on accident and just deleted. I'm not even gonna show my family. But she started somewhere, and now, B School, she has like 2,000 people who enroll at minimum, paying $2,000 each, so, and on top of all of the other stuff she does. So just start. So you want to test before you go live. You want to make sure that, there's proper lighting, there's no background noise or minimal background noise. If you have your headphones that have the microphone included, that usually eliminates most background noises. I've actually found that the regular like iPhone headphones work even better than some of the microphones I purchased off of Amazon. I mean, my one time where I tested before I went live and it still didn't serve me is when I interviewed an author who was a multimillionaire, had written this amazing book on business lessons, and I interviewed him live. And when I did not use the Amazon, I used the Amazon mic instead of the iPhone mic, and every car that went by, you would hear it.
Oh my God.
So test before you go live. And I mean, I had a lot of viewers on that one, but most of the time they couldn't hear what was being said. But don't use that though as an excuse to stop you. People still saw me that I had interviewed him and that had created momentum. And then of course it gave me a reason to re-interview him because the first time didn't work out as well. So there you go. Yeah. And then really important, and this one, I really want to stress that one. Value your viewers' time. You guys know time is precious. You know, you could have been doing so many other things other than staying here listening to us. So time is very important. Your viewers' time is important. So treat them as you would want yourself to be treated. To me, for almost all of my scopes, or all my broadcasts on Facebook as well, I have an outline in my head or written down of what I want to say. I know what points I want to get across, and I get them across. And once I get them across, I stop. Because their time is valuable, and I want to make sure that they enjoy watching me and that they'll return to watch me. And so for me, one of the rules of thumb that I had created for myself on my Periscope broadcast and carrying it over to my Facebook, I try to keep them between 10 to 15 minutes max. Because anything longer feels like a longer commitment, anything shorter, you'll have people coming in and out. 10 to 15 minutes I've found is what works, and it gathers it holds people's attention. It's a short car ride. So, but value your viewers' time, and they'll appreciate it. They'll appreciate you for it. Oh, there you go. That came out of order. Number 6 is be yourself and have fun. Okay? People can tell if you're not having fun. People will be able to see that. I don't know how many of you guys are aware, but our hearts actually exert out an electromagnetic field. Like researchers are showing it. It's actually we have a field that's being exerted, and in there our emotions. You guys can tell I'm a career and life coach. Yes. In there they have emotion particles in it. And so that's why we sometimes when you walk in a room or you're close to someone, you can tell that they're feeling some way. It's because that's what they're exuding. They're exuding those emotions. That shows up even on camera. So if you're not having fun, people will feel it. They'll know it. They'll know when most people will feel that. They'll be aware of that. So be yourself and have fun. Don't place these high expectations on yourself. One of the broadcasts that most people still remember that I did on Periscope is I went shopping at Albertsons, and so I was going to do a quick live scope. I stopped at a place in Albertsons where I was like, I need to do my Periscope. I didn't broadcast today. So I went in, did 3 points of, I forgot even what I talked about. And then I had viewers from, Saudi Arabia, from Peru, from Argentina, and he said, we want to see the grocery store.
Oh my
They wanted to see the grocery store. So the rest of the broadcast, I was walking around a grocery store and just being my regular goofy self, jumped through the roof with people coming in because they wanted to see the grocery store. They wanted to see me and just being myself and have fun with me and explore. So be yourself and have fun. Yes, it's important to have the more serious broadcast, especially if you're trying to attract your client base, but then also show them yourself and have fun with it. And if you're having fun doing broadcasting, they're probably having fun watching as well. And if you're having fun broadcasting, then you're probably going to want to broadcast more often. And then lastly, just do it. Just do it. The reason we started one of the communities that I mentioned was Scopers Unite, was to help people who wanted to start broadcasting on social media. That was it. It was just, we would get up to 50 people sign up for 5-minute intervals, and we'd create a sign-up sheet, and everyone put in their handles, and so we would hop from one Periscope broadcast to the other, and this way people knew it was a safe place for them to come on, start broadcasting, share their story, or be able to, and have an audience. One of the persons who has become a friend of mine from that, his name is Hans Freller. I'll put his social media stuff on the Facebook Live video, and you guys can catch it later. one of his first broadcasts, it was one of those card videos, and he had told his story of how his entire life had either been physically abused, emotionally abused, and just going, being abandoned by his parents, going through all the different boys' homes, what he did to try to get his life back together, how it was a constant process of trying to build my life and crashing down, build my life, crashing down. It was just 5 minutes of that. He went from that one, doing that once, and people just connected with that message. Because how many of us, have had our lives crash or something crash, and you feel like you have to build it back up. So he was himself. He shared his story, and then in January, he was invited to speak at the Periscope at Summit Live. So it's a summit for any live streaming stuff. There were almost 1,000, maybe over 1,000 people in attendance. And so you never know. Just start. Just do it. You never know what it's going to do for your business or for your life. All right. Thank you.